55% in.
The University of Arkansas did a recent study because farmers are filing for Chapter 12 bankruptcy at an alarming rate. There's a lot of things that are driving that. And before you say, I told you so, they all voted for it, it's going to hurt us too. So, just so you know, just so you can own the red hats, isn't necessarily the greatest way to look at this, because it's going to hurt us, and it's going to hurt a lot of people that really cannot afford to have it hurt them. So here's what's going on in the farm world and why they're filing bankruptcy. And this is not just small independent, this is moderate, this is larger farms. The cost to manufacture the items or grow the goods is gone up. So seeds, fertilizers, stakes, workers is all increasing. And the workers, there's a lack of them because of the indiscriminate raids that have been going on. But it's not just the farm workers, it's also the packaging facilities. So all of those things that the farmer grows goes to packaging facilities to end up in our grocery store. And they've been raiding both farms and those facilities. So we have a downturn of employees to process things. So it's a problem. The secondary offset is that every season they take out loans to finance the current season. And the loans are between 7 and 9% interest, which is direct impact because of inflation is why those loans are higher. But also the CFPB has been repealed, and therefore, you don't have bank regulations as much before as the consumer protection situation. Then the marketplace, the commodities. So when you finish making your farming items, the price to sell them is low. So they're not recouping their funds at the end of the season. And that is a problem because they're not being able to pay off the loans. All of those are going to lead to one or two things. We're going to have a shortage because there's going to be less of them out there producing for us. And two, the costs are going to go up because of all of the items that I just listed. So this is a direct impact of who we currently have in office and a lot of the policies he's put in place. But it is going to hurt us at the grocery store. And that's the bigger problem.
55%. That's the rate that American farmers have been declaring bankruptcy over and above last year. 55% more bankruptcies of American farmers. And it's the conditions, the economic conditions that are contributing to it. A lack of a workforce, a lack of labor, tariffs, the whole 9 yards. Everything this administration has done is contributing to these people losing everything. They're losing the farm, right? So why is this important? Why should you care? Well, what happens when a family declares bankruptcy is that their property is sold in a sheriff's auction to satisfy creditors. So they lose their property. It's fire sailed. And, if they've got a $1 million loan on the 1,000 acres they got, and they get $500,000 for the property, well, they're on the hook for another $500,000. We're talking about generations that have farmed land, that have been farmers their entire lives, losing everything because they can't sell a product overseas. Most of our corn and grain is sold to other countries, and the tariffs are making it more expensive than other options. So they can't sell what they've farmed for decades or centuries. So what's the end run here? Why is this happening? Well, my speculation is that there's large, massive farming operations out there, very large corporations that have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of acres. For example, the King Ranch. And 25 years ago, they had 1 million acres, and several 100,000 head of cattle. And they're looking to expand. So how do you expand cheaply? Well, what you do is you get somebody to pass legislation that's going to make family farms file bankruptcy. And then instead of giving them fair market value for it, you can just buy the land in foreclosure. So, well, out of bankruptcy. So that's the end run here. That's what all these policies are doing, is simply gutting family farmers to allow corporations to get farmland cheaply. It's a shame. It's sad. It's shameful. But that's what this administration is going for, you know. Line the pockets of the big corporations, the big farmers, and shaft us.
In the first 3 months of this year, we've had 259 farm bankruptcies, and that's more than every year total since 2021. More in 3 months than we've had in any full year since 2021. There's one thing. Number two, when the tariffs towards the beginning decided to affect farmers, and in the middle of planting season, fertilizer went up like to an ungodly amount, that was two. And then delaying a farm bill, that's three. And every time I look in to who benefits from all of this, and when I was looking into what HR 1 was going to do to farmland, and so on and so forth, can somebody explain to me why all roads lead to Bill Gates? And then, why do all roads lead to him being invested in everything that would benefit what J.D. Vance is doing? Someone explain that to me. Yeah, on top of this, Bill Gates is one of the people who's been benefiting from the Inflation Reduction Act as far as greenwashing goes. You know what the greenwashing did? We lost a ton of farmland. That's what happened. Everything the government has done since 2017 has destroyed farmland, and we've sold it off on the cheap. And China bought a bunch of it. Isn't that fun? So, hey, America, if you decide to give a damn about your farmers and you start calling about your farmers, it might slow the immigration train. We might stop having people who feed us go bankrupt. Those are two good things. Yeah, two good things. I don't know what all this bullshit's about, but when I saw how many farm bankruptcies there have been, and right now is harvesting season for a lot of things, it has been. So, like, you tell me why they're ramping that up. What reason would there be right now during harvest season, especially since POTUS said in a cabinet meeting they were going to make sure they had everybody they needed in farms, and these people had green cards. So yeah, you guys told me, because I know that some of us care about the people that got arrested, but some of us care about the farmers. Some of us care about both. That's where I would like most people to be. But, like, hey, there's white conservative people going bankrupt over all this, and they need the immigrants. So if you are one of them people that thinks this is a good idea to be getting rid of immigrants, 259 farmers have gone bankrupt. 259 farms have gone bankrupt. And that is more than every year individually, as a whole, since 2021, just in 3 months. Some people are buying that land, but it ain't Americans.
Well, you know what I've been waiting to see? I've been waiting to see the farmers. I've been waiting to hear from them. Yeah. Because unless the federal government sneaks them some money, their pain is starting to hit home. This year, in the first 3 months, 82 farmers filed for bankruptcy. Yeah. 82. That's twice as many as last year in the first 3 months. I have not seen a report for the second 3 months yet, but I'm expecting that to be double what the 82. Yeah. Now remember, 82 filed in the winter months. Yeah. We haven't got the harvest month yet. Yeah. So all they're doing right now is trying to secure their mortgages, filing bankruptcy on their debts, trying to hold on to their properties. But the pain is going to get real as we move into the fall and winter months. If they don't have crops to sell, and they don't have substance to sustain them, and they're hemorrhaging money, they will cry. They will cry. And I'm not wishing anybody bad luck, but if this is what you voted for, then I don't have a problem with you feeling the pain. Can I get an amen? Amen. Amen. Amen.
So I found this, and it says more U.S. farmers filed for bankruptcy in the first 3 months of 2025 than in all of 2024. The 259 filings marked the highest yearly total since 2021. This can't be true, is it? Unfortunately it is, because this comes from a farming website where it says farm bankruptcies this year already exceed 2024 levels. More farms nationwide filed for bankruptcy in the first 3 months of the year this year than across the entirety of 2024. 259 filings in the first 3 months. And the article cites the person who is talking and a research study from Arkansas, and it is devastating. But I think there was somewhere, did I hear about this, that was going to possibly happen with Donald Trump back in office? Maybe that was us who were talking about it, because there was warnings of this, that bankruptcies for farmers and farms going out of business would hit an all-time high because of Donald Trump, his tariffs, and the way he does things. At what point are the MAGAs going to admit Donald Trump is doing more harm than good? You couple this with just destroying food from the USAID for people who need it instead of giving it out. He's not on a very good roll right now. Well, I would say he's not on a good roll ever, but that's me. What do you guys think? Do you think that this is good? What do you think the MAGAs are going to say about this? Are they going to say anything about this? Comment, like, share, tell everybody. Spread this word. What we need is to talk about these things that are happening and how they are hurting U.S.-born citizens, and continue to put this shine, that light, right on Donald Trump.
Yeah, take a look at this. I live in Iowa. More farmers filed for bankruptcy in the first 3 months of 2025 than all of 2024. And you wonder why? Maybe tariffs. But you wonder what the solution might be to this? I want you to read this. Farms filing for bankruptcy under Chapter 12 of the Federal Bankruptcy Code, which gives farmers and fishermen a chance to restructure their operations and plan to repay all of their debts. What does this sound like familiar? I know a lot of people on here are younger than me. But there was a farm crisis back in the 80s, where, yeah, all these people swooped in, these banks swooped in and said, here, we'll let you restructure your loans. Don't worry, we'll give you this new loan, restructure the one that you have, with impossibleness to be able to pay this back. So they took those farms, and guess who's going to benefit? Corporate agriculture. And if you didn't know already, if you haven't heard this, J.D. Vance is part owner, or started this company several years ago called Ag Trader, which buys up distressed farms. That's convenient, isn't it? So let's put the president in place who ruins everything and makes these small farmers go under, and the vice president has a hold on a business that gobbles up all those farms that are in crisis. Convenient, I'd say.
Absolutely terrible news for the farming industry in the United States. So bankruptcies filings are soaring as U.S. farms face inflation and also ICE raids. Between April and March this year, there was 250 Chapter 12 bankruptcies filed for U.S. farms. That's more than the entire year of 2024. So this is really, really bad news for the farming industry. The farming industry in the United States right now is in distress. They're struggling with inflation. Many of the raw materials that they need to successfully produce and process, for example, like potash, comes from Canada, and the price of that has gone up because of tariffs. Of course, the other problem as well is that they're experiencing labor shortages. ICE raids have made things very difficult for the U.S. farmer, and it's going to become catastrophic this year. It will be catastrophic. Folks, the source for this is the University of Arkansas that did this report. My name is Nick. Let me know what you think about this in the comments.
Not sure if you've seen this, but more U.S. farms have filed for bankruptcy in the first 3 months of this year than they did in all of 2024. Now, you might be sitting here saying, well, I'm not a farmer, I don't live in a rural community, so why in the hell should I care? This trend is going to affect all of us, and here's how. This is going to result in higher grocery prices. It's also going to result in corporations taking over, right? Big ag taking over. And we know what happens when big corporations take over. Less quality, higher prices. It's also going to make us even more dependent on foreign food sources. At a time when President Trump is increasing tariffs for no reason and with no clear plan. So again, all of this is going to affect food prices, which will then lead to higher cost of living, which will then lead to inflation. So much for helping the working class, right?
And really what we're seeing is a real surge in Chapter 12 filings, across the nation. So far this year at the end of Q1, we're looking at 259 filings. That's already outpacing 2024's numbers. And this is not just a national trend. In Arkansas, we're already about outpacing what we did in the entire year last year. We have 15 Chapter 12 filings this year, and we had 16 total last year. So it looks like we're just going to be on the pace to beat that or be even worse.
That is incredible. You see these kind of numbers right now, the effect that has on the health of the ag economy in the U.S. Maybe speak to that a little bit and the ripple effect this has.
Absolutely. So, the ripple effect is a lot of, farms have to close up shop. And the question becomes, where does the land go? Does it get rented out by other farmers looking to expand? Investment firms purchase it? And those are a lot of those questions and kind of unknowns that when you're going into this. So when you're looking at it, farms have really just been trying to wade the storm. And for the last few years of low commodity prices, high input cost. And what we're seeing now is I think some folks just saying, we can't do that anymore in terms of holding on, and they can market as much as they can, but those prices never get to the points of even break even, let alone profitability.